Welcome to Progressive HR Live. I am Corrine Woodman Hollebeck, your host. So, many of you know that LinkedIn just announced, either way, creator mode. And because that is the new introduction, we are now seeing lives on creators' profiles, their profile links. So, I'm just playing around a little bit this morning for about a minute before we're actually supposed to go live to see if I can see all the changes that are happening. So, if you are watching this in the replay, go ahead and fast forward 30 seconds to when we actually start our real live. Welcome, everybody. This is Progressive HR Live, and I am your host, Corrine Woodman Hollebeck of Progressive HR. I'm here with Robert Brown, the CEO of Illumo, and we're going to be talking about the power of workplace experience technology today. Hi, Robert. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, while we're waiting for a few people to join the stream, actually, I have a message right now. We were just talking about creator mode, and she said that, yes, it is working. So the live is showing in the banner. That is great. So if you had tuned on, we were talking about creator mode and how LinkedIn has changed where creators are starting to have their live streams go live in their banners. So my friend Asmara just told me that, yes, it's working, and so we're great. So thank you, Asmara. So for those of you that are joining me right now, joining Robert and I right now, let us know who you are, where you're streaming from, what's the weather like today. So I want to know, Robert, where are you streaming from today?
I'm just south of Salt Lake City. And today, the weather for us, this is always an interesting time of year because we go between summer and winter. And today we're back to winter. So we're getting a little bit of snow in the mountains and rain in the valleys. And yeah, but it's beautiful, and we definitely need it. So the more snow and moisture, we love it. So
Sounds like where I'm streaming from in Wisconsin. So I'm streaming from Madison, Wisconsin, where last week or 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, it was 80 degrees. We thought it was summer. We started taking out our patio furniture. And then yesterday we had a chance of snow. So we were like, what is going on? But then I always say to everybody, like, welcome to Midwest spring. So
that's right.
So we have a few people joining us right now from across the nation. It looks like across the globe as well. So wanted to say hi to Haley, who is joining us from Cross Plains. It's close to Madison, Wisconsin. And Janelle, who's joining us from Vancouver, British Columbia. Wow. And we have Dr. Charlie. He is joining us from Kansas, 52 and sunny here. Do not brag,
Whoa,
Dr. Charlie.
that sounds nice.
Oh, and then we have Matt, who is joining us from Seattle. Sorry, Matt, I do not know how to pronounce that. Snoqualmie. So, Robert, can you do any better? Oh, can you see? You probably can't see this one. It's SNO. Well, we're not going to try. So, thanks, Matt. So everyone, we are going to get into our first question now. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is Progressive HR Live. I'm your host, Corrine Woodman Hollebeck from Progressive HR. And I'm here with Robert Brown of Illumo, and we're going to be talking about the power of workplace experience. Ooh, frog in my throat. Came from the pond. Workplace experience technology. So we have one more person a few more people would want to say hello. So Julie is joining in from Barbados. Hi, Julie. It's probably very warm there, probably 90 degrees or so. And oh yeah, the Matt says, yes, I nailed it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. So let's go into our first question, and anybody that comes on, let us know where you are joining from, where you're tuning in. So Robert, tell us, what is workplace experience technology?
Yeah, the workplace experience technology is really designed to help an organization know and understand their
Our
people.
first question, and anybody that comes on,
And what I mean by that is that
let
as
us know where you are
as an
joining from.
organization is smaller, then it's more difficult for them to be able to know and understand their people as they grow and as they scale. As a small company, you know your people, you're connected to them. But the as your organization grows, you start to have multiple sites, locations, hundreds, thousands of people. It becomes very difficult to know and understand your people at scale. And that's really the purpose of workplace technology, is to help organizations understand and facilitate the right actions that they need to take with their people at scale. So workplace technology is really just, there's a lot of different technologies, of course, but when we talk about workplace experience technology, what we're really talking about is, what is the experience that your people are having? And why is that important to you to know and understand? Is because, of course, everything within your organization relies on people, and understanding the experience they're going through, the roadblocks, the issues that they're having, allow you to quickly identify those and solve those. So workplace experience technology is, again, just to really help you understand the experience that your people are having so that you can drive your business results.
And that's very interesting. I was listening to a Josh Bersin podcast yesterday, and he was saying how we really just don't have, we're moving in a way from uh, employee experience to employee listening. And what you're really saying is that workplace experience technology is a better listening system for your employees, correct?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I like to describe it as, we talked about employee, satisfaction years ago. And then it was a big focus of, okay, now we need to focus on the employee experience. And so you hear that a lot about employee experience and what to do there. Frankly, at Illumo, we like to call it the human experience, because I believe that that's the next evolution. And through everything we've gone through with the pandemic, you look at all the negative things that happened to us surrounding that. On the flip side, one of the positives is that, from my perspective, is that companies recognize and really understood, it helped them to understand the real value of the people within the organization. And now you see them focusing on things like mental health and their wellness and their personal well-being and all of that, because they're recognizing the core of the whole organization. It's funny. Yeah, I always say, look, no matter what business you're in the people business. It doesn't matter what you sell or what you're delivering. We're all in the people business. And the key function to that, like you said, is understanding them. Well, the only way to properly understand them is to listen to them. But the traditional methodologies that organizations have used have been survey technology to try to do that in the past. You can think of Illumo as the anti-survey platform, where we do everything we can to eliminate all of those traditional issues that organizations have with that traditional process of listening.
So we have a question from our audience, and this is from Janelle, and she says, how has the concept of experience evolved over the past year? Great question, Janelle. And then she adds, where is the intersection with diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental well-being, work-life balance?
I That's why we call it the human experience, is that I believe that experience encompasses everything, and that's how we define it, is that the human experience is my complete and total experience with an organization. What organizations are now recognizing, of course, is that, hey, it's not just home and work. Well, guess what? Those, we've always struggled with work-life balance. Now everybody's working from home. That's almost gotten worse, right? So now how do we balance? And is it really, how do you tie all of that together, essentially? And that's where, with organizations, it's not about one thing or this, or yes, of course, DE&I is critical. Of course, mental health is critical. Of course, you know, um, everything that's going on within the experience is important. But how do you measure and identify and understand everything?
At the
That's
same
one of the
time.
biggest.
Yeah.
Right. Right, because what are the biggest issues? For example, organizations right now, there's huge focus on some of these core aspects of mental health in these different areas. But are those the biggest issues? Are those the right ones? Are those the most important things to your people, or are they currently just talked about more? And what are the needs? What do they have? What are their needs? So, for example, with mental health, well, what are their needs? How do you take the right actions? How do you know what to do within the organization to best support your people? Well, a lot of times what we do is we sit around a table as leadership within an organization and try to decide that on our own. Yes, we may try to gather some one-sided feedback, but do we really know and understand? I was talking to the company the other day. They're like, "Oh yeah, we just did this engagement survey and we got a 4% response." How are you supposed to drive understanding and make and take the right actions based on that? Well, if you look at it, well, why did you get a 4% response? Well, probably because the last time, I won't go into the whole thing, but bottom line, because employees don't look at surveys as valuable to them, because oftentimes we miss the opportunity to connect feedback to action. So, anyway,
Yeah, Haley agrees with
sorry.
you. She said, yeah, no, I apologize. Great information. Haley agrees with you. And she said, yes, that's a symptom versus the problem. So Haley really is starting us off into our next question is that, so why did you develop Illumo and what problem in workplace experience are you solving?
Well, so I come from my past and my background is in leading in an executive positions in organizations. And I've always believed, in fact, it's been a real personal journey for me. I always believed it, but I didn't really know how to grow the organization through people and culture. And that was a journey that I've learned, and I've learned so much about how to do that over my experience as a CEO. But what I recognized is that, well, why, if I have all of these amazing real-time dashboards and BI tools that can tell me every single thing about the company, but yet I don't have a single one that tells me that type of data around our people? If we look over to HR and talk about that, well, yeah, we have lagging indicators, we have, churn rates, and we have a bunch of these things that tell us what the problems are, but nothing to proactively help us identify and address those things to solve those problems, right? So that's where I was like, well, why can't we do this? And everybody says, well, you can't measure culture, you can't measure these things. Well, we just kind of called it on that, right? We just said, look, that's not true. You absolutely can. And the reason why we created this is because that I personally believe that organizations, everything within an organization comes down to people. It comes down to the culture, the workplace experience, comes everything. If you look at, hey, we're focused on these business results. Well, what creates those results? If you step back from it, it comes from an engaged workforce. How do you create the engaged workforce? It comes from delivering an experience that creates that engagement and drives that. If you want to look at it, it all comes down to my mindsets, my beliefs, my behaviors about my alignment with the organization. I do what I think, and if I feel like the organization has my back and they're working and they're supporting me, then I give that to the organization. That's what drives the results. So when you talk about results, then look at the mindsets and the behaviors that are delivering those, but we had no data. And so that's why we created Illumo, to be the first real-time data analytics platform, human analytics, that delivers real-time actionable insights. And that's the whole purpose, is to deliver the understanding and the knowledge that you need to take the right actions within your organizations. I love to say to organizations all the time, look, don't guess, just ask. And if you ask in a way that actually involves and engages your people, then, and we'll show you today, like I'll show you an organization today that has 96% of their people participating a year later after launching the platform. That's off the chart. How do you get that? Well, you show value, and we'll help to show that to you today. So, sorry.
And I also
I
think,
really do get.
you're very passionate. You're very excited. So I love that. And I've gotten to know you over the past few weeks, and as we've been preparing for this live. And I also think that one of the problems you solve is that when you do surveys and where you're getting an analytics and an analysis, and you're just kind of like, I can't analyze this data fast enough to take action. And that's another thing that I really love about how your dashboard displays and how you analyze this data. And we're going to talk a little bit more, as Robert said, about that and give you a demo. But I've got a question here from the audience. So Janelle asks, are companies trending toward a universal or a global employee experience or a customized employee experience? I have the answer to this question, but we want to hear yours, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an individual customized experience. We're having to go from, again, just this, hey, our employees are satisfied or they're engaged, to really knowing and understanding them and building that human experience. The human experience is different. It's about people. It's about my individual experience, and my experience is different than yours. And supporting me and my needs and my growth and my personal passions and drive, that is what an organization wants, right? That's what you want when you come to work. You want the ability to grow and feel, to give your whole self in a system and an environment that delivers the support you need to do that. That's what we want. Now organizations are recognizing that that's how they get the best people. We're going right now, as we start to come out of the pandemic, I believe the next epidemic is all surrounding the talent wars. Getting the best people. The best people drive the best organizations. They have the best ideas and the best innovations, but you don't get good people to come work for your organization unless you've created a place that they want to be. Once you get behind, above the Maslow's needs, right? Of, hey, I've got enough money and things to meet my needs and all that. Well, guess what? Then money drops down the list, and the experience that I'm having with your organization jumps to the top, a place where I can be valued and grow and progress, right? That's what we have to focus on as an organization, is how do we build that? How do we drive that? Well, I like to say that you can't move the needle if you don't have a needle. If you don't have a way to measure those core aspects of the experience that people are having, then how are you going to have any idea if what you're actually doing? We all take all these different initiatives, but how do we know if that's working? If you can't quantify it, then you have no idea. And that's the place where we're like, this is crazy. We're doing all these things. We're focused on people. We want to deliver this. We want to be amazing people within HR and people leaders. But if we don't have the tool that helps us to see what we're doing, that's why, we're like, oh, let's fix this problem.
So I wanted to ask you, and Julie has a few questions, and she says she's a big techie, so she's got a few questions coming here. But I think this might answer one of her questions. So what is the LEAP process?
Yeah. So what we did is, I've also learned, and this big mistakes that I've learned over my years of experience. One of the things I found in my earlier on in my career was that I would launch different initiatives, we would do different things, but then 6-8 months later, of course, we were off to the next thing, and that thing wasn't being done anymore. And so I recognized very early on that, unless you put in a systematic process, a way that stays consistent with this, then obviously things drop off. And so when we used design thinking to really understand the outcomes that we were looking for our software to help deliver to an organization. And we created this very simple process that we call LEAP, where we help organizations to first listen to their people in a frictionless, simple experience. We do that. In fact, a lot of what we do. So we try to meet your people wherever they are. If you are a Slack organization, then we'll present a question and ask questions and interact with your people through Slack. If you're, Teams or whatever, wherever your people live. One of my favorites, though, is actually cell phones, because we found that, in fact, we didn't develop an app just to make it super easy, but we send a single question each week to engage with your people, asking them about one of the various experiences that we have in the platform. And so we ask those questions and we help to listen. But then one of the big issues that people struggle with in traditional listening through like a survey asking questions is that there's no response, or that they provide such a high level, oh, well, I don't think this is going to matter, I'll just say something to get it done, but nobody responds. So the real magic of the platform is that we actually engage with your people in anonymous, back and forth, two-way conversations. It's the most you get. This is where the gold lives in the platform. This is where you get the insights. When we talk about daily, real-time, actionable insights, it comes through our most effective listening process. We're listening to people. We're engaging with them in an actual conversation. These are anonymous conversations at scale, going back and forth. But that's where we're able to truly understand. What it does for them helps them feel heard. In fact, I've seen many comments in the platform. Oh, I love this new system because I finally feel like somebody's listening, right? That's what it does. It helps them to feel heard and listened to, and like we understand the experience. Engagement comes by engaging your people, not by talking about it or programs where we, have lunches or, whatever it may be. Engagement comes through a systematic way of designing processes that then deliver engagement and create engagement within your organization. That's what we did here in the platform, is designed a way where we can continually engage with them, but it's so simple and easy that it's easy for them to do. Because I get that question all the time. Well, if you're asking one question a week, don't people get tired of it? And my answer is, well, it all depends on one thing. And that is, if you're going to listen and then take action and connect what they've said to what you're doing in the organization. If you can do that, that's when the magic happens. And that's where you'll see with organizations that are effectively doing it, 96% of their people are engaging with the platform. So listen, engage. Then, of course, yes, now we have to take action. So we built a systematic way to facilitate that action, facilitate co-creating solutions to the problems that your organization has brought up. Well, we have a process for that, of course, to educate and teach your people to use so that you can systematically drive that. Because one of the biggest things, there was a report by O.C. Tanner that showed that there's like an 800% increase if you can take action on something within 30 days. We need to get away from this whole process of, we ask survey questions and then we bring them back and then we try to listen, figure out some ideas, and then we go out and do focus groups. Well, why did you do a focus group? Because we actually have to talk to people to understand what they're really thinking. Well, we just eliminate that whole process and give you daily, real-time, actionable insights based on consistent and deep level feedback. We're going back and forth in these conversations. Then now you take action. We take you through the illumination cycle. And then one of the biggest keys, of course, at the end is, now let's measure our progress. Let's see how we're doing. Are we moving the needle? We're taking all this effort and doing all of these things. Was it making a difference? Or and this is one of my other things, is a lot of people say, okay, well, we'll take a survey at the beginning and then we'll take a survey at the end. Well, that is helpful. But wouldn't it be more helpful to know and understand how what you're doing every single day is impacting your people, and being able to iterate through the process so that when you get to the end, you already know where you are. You've moved the needle because you were able to catch the gaps or the issues along the way. So that's the whole LEAP process. Listen, engage, take action, and measure your progress.
And Janelle says, sounds like a much more efficient and effective process. Very, very true. We're going to go into the demo now. And within the demo, we've got the 2 questions we need to answer for Julie. And then we have a pre-question actually, from Amy Stoll that we're going to answer. So let's hop into that beautiful interface that you have.
Absolutely. Let me just get my screen share rolling here.
All right, there we are.
Okay, so in the Illuma platform, again, I don't think I mentioned this. We worked with organizational psychologists, and the whole purpose was to understand the human experience at work. How do we understand that? Well, they worked with us to help us define key areas within the organization of what we need to measure and quantify to help an organization define that. That being said, the platform is also a tool for you to create all of your own metrics. For example, you'll see in here, like, we don't have values metrics. The reason is because each organization has their own sets of values and what the definitions of those are. So what we do is we just help an organization to customize and create values. If one of your values is trust, a common value within many organizations, well, how do you know whether that exists? How do you know if any of the things you're doing are actually improving that, or how people feel if they do feel a high or low level of trust? And more importantly, why? Why is that? And what can you do to help improve it? That's exactly what we do. We help you put a needle on anything. So here,
let me interrupt you for a minute here. So I wanted to let everybody know that Corey Nichols, he is working with Robert at Illumo. He is also in the stream, and he is going to be asking some. He's going to be answering some questions from the audience, the questions that we can't get to. And I also see Brian is also from Illumo, and he's also in the stream answering some questions. So if there's any quick questions that you have, don't worry about, just put them in the comments, and someone from Illumo will take care of them. I also wanted to mention that you can sign up for a free demo, and Corey or Brian will drop that link in here now. As well, we have a special offer coming pretty soon that we'll talk about for those attendees of this live session. So sorry to interrupt you, Robert, but I wanted to ask you, because you made a mention of it, what human experience campaigns do you collect data on, and how
Yes,
many?
absolutely. So let me show you. Well, we'll dive right into that. That's fine. We'll hop over here. So well, let me describe this. So the Illumo score, think of it like your FICO score, where it takes every metric, everything that we measure and engage with your organization on across the whole platform, and we bring it back into one number. Underneath this, you'll see, and this company is one of our top performing companies, and I have their permission to share their data. This is a live organization, and they're 12 above the Illumo average, because what we do is we also benchmark you according to your organization and size, so that you can understand, well, is an 86 good? Yeah, it's off the charts. It's amazing. It's 12 above the average Illumo organization. The other thing that you're seeing here on the home screen is the ENPS, because Employee Net Promoter is a very common term that many organizations use. And it's on a scale base, and essentially asks the question, would you recommend your workplace to your friends and family to work here? Right? So it asks that question. And then we use the Likert scale. And so on a scale of 1 to 5, a 5 is a promoter. A 4 is a neutral, and anything below that, a 1, 2, or 3, is a detractor. So you can see here, this organization has 88% of their people are promoters, giving a solid straight up 5. 12% are neutral, and they have 0 detractors. Wouldn't we all love to be in this place or this position? But that's a powerful score, and a lot of people look at that, and so we wanted to help share that with organizations. Because the other thing you'll find is that if you dive into this and went into the detail and clicked on it, it would show you how that trends over time. It's very interesting to see that, you take your ENPS score, well, that was what it was on that day, but of course the next day it's different. People's mindsets, their beliefs, things that they're doing, the experience they're having changes. It's so dynamic that that's one of the struggles of, again, the traditional survey process is it only gives us limited insight. So right here, that's where I'm showing you, 96% of their people are engaging with Illumo. And then now let's hop into those human experience campaigns. So we worked with organizational psychologists, and they helped us to identify and understand the core areas of the experience that people are having with your organization. In addition, of course, like I said, you can create your own custom experiences. So think about that, well, what are the things, if there's something you don't see in our general set of defaults, then we can just help you get it created and create those metrics for you. So in here, we're measuring things like alignment. When COVID first was introduced, and about a year ago, we launched this COVID campaign because, of course, organizations were trying to figure out, well, hey, how do we understand the experience that our people are going to be having with COVID? And you can see as I dive into that individual metric, well, here's the last 30 days and kind of what we're seeing score wise. Here's over the last year or so and how we're trending. So again, that ability to measure and see how we're improving. And then down here are the actual metrics. So within an experience campaign, we typically have 4 to 8, sometimes have more or less, but these are the different metrics. So we're measuring, hey, how do you feel like leadership is doing during COVID? How are you personally doing, your personal well-being? Do you feel like you're being communicated well? Do you feel like we're taking good care of our customers? How do you feel like this is affecting the company and culture? And do you have the systems and technologies that you need? Underneath every one of these individual metrics are 5 questions. 2 of them are scale based. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your experience with this specific thing? The other two are conversation starters, and I'll share with you how we engage in those actual live conversations with people. And then the fifth one is one of my favorites because that's where we're asking an innovation question. What would you recommend? What's the one thing that you would recommend to the company to help us improve in this specific area? I love those because we start to get all kinds of amazing insight and feedback from people surrounding how and what we can do to grow and improve. So that's what a human experience campaign looks like. I'll go back here quickly to just show you, others. So the customer experience, because of course, one of the outcomes that we're always driving to are your business results. Well, of course, your customer experiences are directly connected to the experiences that your people are having because the experience you give to your people is the experience that they in turn around and give to your clients. So knowing and understanding what that looks like. We, of course, this year has been a huge um, focus on diversity and equity, inclusion, and belonging. And there's really two categories that we use to focus on this. And I almost look at it as the proactive version. What are the things that we're doing? Do you feel like the company, like, here, I'll hop into this one real quick.
Real
You
quick,
know,
Robert, I
oh,
wanted to mention,
please.
yeah, I just wanted to mention to everybody is that you're offering everyone that is either watching Progressive HR Live today or watching the replay not a free, but a complimentary full trial for 30 days. So normally when you sign up for the free trial, that's just one or two categories that you get, or one or two campaigns that you get. But you're offering our audience today by mentioning Progressive HR all full, 13 campaigns, 13 to 14 campaigns.
That's right.
Yeah, 13 to 14 campaigns. So if you direct message Robert or Corey on LinkedIn, they can get you set up for that 30-day full complimentary trial of all 13 to 14 campaigns.
Yeah, the purpose really behind that is that no one really has a technology like this, and it can be difficult sometimes to understand what it does and how it works. And so what we want to share with you is normally we turn on a campaign for an organization, let you try it with a single campaign, but I just want to give it to you. Let us just give it to you, show you. It's so plug and play. It's so easy to launch the platform. And typically within 24 to 72 hours, everything's lit up and all of the data and the feedback and the insights all streaming in. So it's a really powerful way to help us share that experience with you. And that's just the type of company we are because we're just here to help, and we're here to help provide the data and the insight that fellow people leaders need to help drive their organizations forward. So coming back, unless did you have something quick?
Yeah, I do have something.
Okay,
So
please.
I wanted to answer this question from Julie because she's always great at asking these really awesome questions. And she says she's a huge techie, and she has to ask what makes Illumo different from other platforms like Huler. I don't know if I pronounced that right, Huler, or Worky, because there's a lot of platforms out there. So why should someone invest, or why should she invest in Illumo?
Yeah, what I've seen through all of these is that they're versions of surveys. They are literally versions of surveys, and in some cases take the approach of more is better, right? The more, or pulses, or the more often we do these surveys. But again, I come back to two things. One, it's systematic, it's on autopilot. Once you plug in and choose these different experiences over here that you're looking for, it goes on autopilot. But the most important thing about that, again, will drive back to those human to human conversations at scale. These are not bots. These are not widgets talking to people. We're a human experience company, and we have humans talking to humans to learn and understand the experience that they're having within the organization. We can put a needle on anything, and it ties back to that whole leap process. So you can do components of this. You can do listening really good for a day. You could do engaging and answering questions or conversing with your people good for a day. But what we need is a systematic way to deliver it consistently. That's what Illumo does that I've seen no other platform have the ability to do. Because when we engage, our recommendation is once a week through whatever that methodology is. Well, as I split that up over the week, about a fifth of your organization every single day And by the way, you can customize the interactions and turn them up or down. But as we engage every single day, we're gathering insight and feedback in a conversational approach to listen and understand your people and the experience that they're having. I'm telling you, there's nothing more powerful to help you guide and direct your organization than that type of insight. Where else or how else are you going to get it? That's what we do here. We deliver the insight and the daily insight. There are simple things. I'll, I'll, I'll tell you a quick story. So one of the executives, CEO on the platform, they're a hospitality company, and one of their people sent in a message saying, you know what? It was a question surrounding culture. And the question came in, and they responded and said, we say that we're this type of company and that we care about people. But I just had a loved one pass away. Our bereavement policy says that I only get 3 days of time off, but they're not even paid. So here I am trying to bury my loved one, struggling with this, and worried and freaked out about how I'm going to pay the bills. I don't think that aligns with our culture. And the CEO, because whoever you choose in the platform, we send out a daily email with all of the conversations. And the CEO at this company says, I want to be on that. I want to see and understand what our people are saying so that I can recognize what's happening within the organization at the front lines. And he saw that comment on a Saturday. And he said, wow, that is exactly a gap for us. And he called up the CHRO of that company and said, we need to fix this. And he directed that individual to go in and log into the platform and respond to them and tell them, thank you for bringing this up. This is a gap in what we're doing, and we're changing it. And we're going to immediately provide 5 days of paid bereavement. And we're so sorry for your loss, but thank you for providing the feedback to help us become a better company. Now, typically we say don't take a one-off comment and make it a systemic change because you're looking for trends. But I will tell you that there are situations like that come up that are just like, oh, yeah, why are we doing that? Well, do you think that the CHRO had not talked to the organization before about that and some of the policies, and then we'll push back or whatever it may be? What this does, one of the most important things it does for people leaders is, I believe that the language of business is numbers. CEOs, executive teams work in numbers all day long. As they identify that, it's very easy for them to identify what's a priority and what's not within the organization because they can quantifiably see it. It's not a feeling, it's data. So when I can help you as a people leader take and transition from thoughts and feelings into hard data, like this is one of our heat maps where I'm looking and I can see, look, here's the sales team and they're crushing it, and so is the admin. But client services and really our creative services team, look, our team scores are really low. Our leadership scores, our DE&I score, look, what's going on? Well, what did this just tell me? This tells me where exactly in the organization I need to look and focus efforts based on data. What this tells your CEO and your executive teams, it speaks their language. And what I've seen, in fact, I had a CHRO almost in tears with me a couple of weeks ago. And she said, you've done what I could never do. And I said, wow, that sounds awesome. What was that? And she said, you've helped me to raise the level of importance for people and culture within the organization. Because when I showed them our dashboards, it was like it took the blindfold off. And for the first time, they could see and recognize within the organization where their gaps were. It became real to them. Now she says, I'm almost having the opposite problem because after that, the next few meetings, all they want to talk about is this and what we're going to do and how they can help to solve these. So when you're struggling to get resources, you've got to recognize that organizations are driven on business results. All of this data surrounding people drives your business results, but you have to make that connection. And this is one of the most beautiful and visible ways to do that. I wanted to share with you. So this is another company, a little bit larger organization on this that I wanted to share, where you can see these are all their different departments, and immediately you're able to identify very quickly, hey, where are our strengths? Where are our weaknesses? And this one I'm going to separate now by location, because this is one of my favorite ones to look at. Because now by location, we're able to also identify, hey, where are our top locations? Well, look, these ones are performing really well and we're doing great because they're all stack ranked. But then as we scroll down, look at these locations and look at these gaps and places. So again, as a people leader, I give you the insight that you need in order to identify where to focus your efforts and what matters most. But
So once the organization has their ENPS data and they have this data, how do they go about improving their workplace experiences and driving their business? And I know that you have tools within Illumo to help, so such as playbooks and strategic advisors.
we do. So if you look under, each of these experiences, as you identify, hey, looks like we're struggling in these areas. Well, then there are associated playbooks to help you identify action plans or different pieces. But the other thing that we recognize as an organization is that our ultimate goal is not to just provide data, but it's to help you know and understand what actions or what places, and to be a strategic advisor. So we have a strategic advisor team that works with you to say, oh, well, hey, look, here's what we're seeing in the data. What are the goals and objectives that you guys have? And let us help you identify how to prioritize the data to those objectives so that we can accomplish those business results that you're looking for. What is it you're trying to do? And we'll help you and guide you through the process. We're simply a guide and a strategic advisor to help guide you through that process versus just a tool to say, oh, here's a bunch of data. So if you ask me also, going back to the differences between us and other platforms, that's, look, we care about you as an organization. Our purpose is people, and we're driven to help organizations succeed. And I believe that the best way to know what to do is to understand. You can't fix what you don't understand. And that's the key to this. And that's where the numbers point us in the right direction. But these conversations, this is the real power. As we engage in these conversations to listen about their experience, that's where we start going back and forth, having these deep conversations to understand the why behind the numbers. That's where you get the tactical insights that you need. It's not a high level response to a survey that you're like, oh, well, here's a problem, communication. Okay, well, what does that mean? Or what do we do? Well, that we have the ability to ask that and say, oh, thanks for telling us it was a communication problem. What does that look like to you? And where do you see that? And we start in this conversation and back and forth, and we learn, listen, and understand. That's what the power of these conversations are. Powerful conversations. And you look at these aren't quick survey responses. Why is that? Because this organization, their people have learned this is the best place. My company listens, and I am engaged and involved because they've demonstrated that they listen. Look, these guys weren't at 96% when we launched the platform. They've gotten there over time. Why? Because they engaged, they took the feedback, they've connected that feedback. It's a part of the process, it's part of their culture. They've embedded listening in the culture of the organization, and now that drives this. So now they're getting ideas and insights and everything from their people every single day to help them guide and drive the business forward.
So Janelle asks, does a platform allow complete transparency of data? For example, can all employees see the heat maps? If so, do any companies allow it? That's a great question to know.
It is a great question. And you do have rights and the ability to assign different levels. Two things I want to address is what she just asked. So let me complete that. And then I also want to come back and just talk also in regards to anonymity, because that's another big key. But yes, the platform has the ability to identify and provide heat maps for different managers or different levels of access. And some companies are extremely transparent and provide very openness in the feedback. Others, I think it's a little bit of a journey to get there, where they keep it higher in the organization, start listening, learning, making actions, and then I've seen them start to move it down further and further within the organization to provide access. So there's a variety of ways, and it's customizable by each individual organization. On the second piece, that's about anonymity. So we identify very clearly, because it's always like, well, do people trust it, right? That's one of the big questions we also get. Do people trust it? And that's where we help. And my answer to that is, well, let's earn their trust, because we'll earn that again over time. It's a journey. And so we need to demonstrate that. In fact, one of the fun things that we do is right in the first week, as soon as we launch, we help an organization to find, hey, let's find some really positive comments that have come in. Let's find a couple negative comments about things that we need to address. And let's push those back out, because it's also a communication platform where you can do polls and announcements. Let's thank them for their feedback, and let's demonstrate that we're okay to hear both good and bad, right? It's a journey. It's just a process that we go through to earn their trust. But in here, what we're doing is, you can see here, for example, this is somebody in client services. They're in the Lehigh office location. They're a Gen Z and they're a female. Well, we protect down to a level of 5. So there has to be at least 5 female Gen Zs on this client service team, or else I wouldn't show it. So for example, you'll start to see tags drop off. Like if there weren't at least 5 females, I wouldn't see the female, that type of thing. So that's how we then go in and protect anonymity. But the conversations, they are the key to listening and understanding at scale.
So I wanted to go, before we kind of wrap up, because we're at our quarter mark here, quick question, going back to one of the questions Julie had earlier on, is she said, I want a nonstop shop for my team. Is this a standalone platform, or does it integrate with other platforms such as Bamboo HR, SAP, etc.? If we can just like quickly answer that question, and then we'll kind of go into our summary and our ending.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the platform itself, of course, to get people in, we have to automate and just make that process as easy as possible. So we've integrated with a variety of different HRIS platforms, and you can just directly connect. Worst case, sure, you can give us a CSV and we can upload people that way. But of course, we're always looking to just make that a no-brainer and a non-thought, right? HR does not need anything else to do or manage, and so it's directly integrated so that you don't have to manage any of those pieces. When it comes to the conversations, you do have an option of what you want to do. For most organizations, they do have us engage and provide the daily interactions and feedback, just because they don't really have time to focus on that. And we have amazing teams that help deliver that. And then we meet with you to then help you understand, hey, here's what's going on, or if there was any issues or problems, we immediately identify those. But that's what we do to make the platform as simple and easy as possible for you.
So quick question, should I log out of the demo now? And then we'll go back to answering some questions and
Sure, happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do that. Okay, great. So I wanted to say really quickly that if you're interested, if there's your audience watching, even on the replay, if you're interested in just signing up, again, complimentary for 1 or 2 campaigns just to test it out, Corey's going to drop that link right now. But if you're interested in doing a trial by mentioning Progressive HR, Robert is giving you complimentary trial of all the campaigns today, or if you're watching the replay, for 30 days. And for that, if you just DM Robert or Corey or any of the Lumo team, as well, if you wanted to talk, if you have lots and lots of questions and you wanted to talk to Robert personally, or Corey personally, or Brian as well, I see him on the chat, Corey's going to go ahead and drop those Calendly links in. And if you want to talk to Robert, he's got 3 different times, 15 minutes, half an hour, 3 hours.
Yeah. No. On my Calendly link, I have a variety of times. If you want a brief introduction, if you want to go through a full discussion, so whatever works best for you. But again, our whole purpose is simply to help people leaders get the data and the insight that they need to succeed and to grow their teams. And no other platform on the planet And we are definitely, of course, biased, but there literally is nothing else that delivers that type of daily, real time, actionable insight to help you drive your organization. And that's what you need. In order to be successful, you have to be able to know and be able to understand the things that you're doing and how that's moving the needle, where your gaps are, and be able to address those. How effective can you be with that type of data? That's the difference. And that's where we're so excited to help people leaders to grow and succeed, because our whole purpose is people, and what we're really focused on is helping organizations to quantify and transform the human experience at work. And that's just what we love. We are so passionate about doing that, and that's our whole purpose, is to try to do that and help an organization to succeed.
And I can totally tell all your passion by our conversation today.
I get a little
um,
over passionated, so sorry, but we are very passionate about, that's, I don't know, that's, we just feel like that's our calling, that's our purpose, that's our mission, right? Is to help organizations grow and succeed, and to do it based on driving their organization through people.
And Illumo also has some free resources for anyone that wants to read some white papers and some case studies. So Corey's going to put some links in to a case study called Terrapin. Is that correct? Terrapin?
Yes,
And
Terrapin.
also Terrapin. Okay. And also a case study called A Big Leap as well, and a few white paper links. So, or one link to two white papers that
Yeah.
anyone can access today.
Yeah, Big Leap was the organization we were showing you through the platform a little bit today. And they've done such an amazing job. They were already a great company, but one of the things I think you'll love in that case study is that, they went through the pandemic and they actually had to do layoffs. They, some of their clients and things pulled back, which forced layoffs. Well, as an organization, I've seen studies out there that show that, hey, that eNPS score, right? When organizations did layoffs or furloughs throughout COVID, they saw an average of a 90, I think it was 91 or 94, somewhere in the 90s percent decrease in their eNPS score. Well, Big Leaps went up by 31%. How do you do that? How do you actually go through a pandemic, have to let people go within your organization, and people feel and trust the organization even more through that process? That's what you'll see in the case study. That's why it's so powerful. Does this work? Does listening work? Does that whole process, the LEAP process, listen, engage, take action, and measure your progress, does it work? Of course it does. And this is simply the tool to help you facilitate it. So it's amazing. You're going to love that case study.
So one last question, and I have this because it's a pre-question that came from Amy Stoll from when we were talking about setting up the live stream. And
Mhm.
just really quick before we log out and end the stream, what do you find has the largest impact on workplace experience?
You know, I would say that it all starts with listening. Um, Listening to your people. Of course, you can't just stop there, right? You have to follow through the rest of the process.
You have to
But
leap, right?
right, you got to take that leap, and you've got to be able to work through that whole process, of course. But it all starts with listening, because listening shows that you care, and it starts to give you the insights to start to be able to develop the actions, and everything else follows after that, right? So it all starts with listening. That's what I would say.
Awesome. All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up a little bit here. Maybe we'll have time for one more question for Robert. So I want to let everybody know that you can DM or contact Robert Brown via LinkedIn DM or illumo.com. Corey's been putting those links in for everyone. And Robert is offering, again, free trial or complimentary trial for Progressive HR audience for 30 days of all the campaigns for Illumo. And that you can DM Robert, DM Corey Nichols. And if you're interested in more lives like this or more talk about workplace technology and HR technology, follow me, Corrine Woodman Hollaback, and Progressive HR on LinkedIn. And coming up next week will be next week, actually 2 weeks from now. We'll have Ravi Tandra, from the CEO of Proven Base, on. We're going to be talking about unbiased talent pools and sourcing technology, and that's on 4/29. And then 2 weeks after that, I will have Tom Allen, the founder of the AI Journal, on May 13th, and we'll be talking about everything AI Journal and the community he's building. I wanted to say to everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please come back in 2 weeks and to talk with us with Ravi Tandra. And thank you so much, Robert, for joining me today and showing everybody about Alumo and talking more about workplace experience technology. So everyone, I wanted to let everybody go about 5 minutes early, have coffee or a little snack before you have to jump on to your next Zoom. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Janelle, Julie, everyone that has Dr. Charlie provided questions and comments. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Cheers.